Here is key point discussed in podcast Oz Pearlman Mentalist. This small mistake makes people dislike you. They do this, they're lying. Why nay? What's fascinating is that he's not actually reading minds, but rather, he's developed a skill to read people through their behavior, body language, and the way they think. He spent decades reverse engineering the human mind, and what he's learned can be applied to anyone's life, whether it's in personal or professional relationships. One of the key things that stood out to me was how he prepares for interactions by thinking about what will work and what won't, and having a plan A, B, C, all the way to Z. He also talked about the importance of creating a positive curiosity gap, which is something that even content creators like Mr. Beast use to hook their audience. What's also really interesting is how he observes people's body language and behavior to understand what they're thinking. He talked about how people's fear of rejection is a major factor in holding them back from achieving their goals, and how he's learned to overcome that by understanding how people think. He even shared a technique for detecting lies by observing someone's benchmarks, which is essentially learning how they behave when they're telling the truth versus when they're lying. When it comes to sales or pitching, Oz's approach is all about understanding the other person's needs and desires. He calls it channeling your inner mentalist, where it's not about you, but about them. He writes down everything he learns about people, even the smallest details, which becomes a powerful tool for building relationships and creating memorable moments. Oz talked about how remembering someone's name, family, or personal details can be incredibly powerful because it's so rare. It's what he calls the paradox of small things. They're often overlooked, but they can actually be really big things. It's a great reminder to pay attention to those little details in our interactions with others, because they can make all the difference. Oz Pearlman shared this incredible story about how a chance encounter with a Merrill Lynch executive, who had no idea Oz worked for the company, led to a profound realization. The executive's offhand comment, "What are you doing working here?" sparked a chain reaction in Oz's mind, making him question his path, and ultimately leading him to pursue his passion for mentalism. This got me thinking, how often do we overlook these pivotal moments in our own lives? We might dismiss them as insignificant, but what if they're actually the catalyst for transformation? Oz's story highlights the importance of self-reflection and being open to new possibilities. Now let's talk about the concept of why not me. Oz emphasizes that when faced with seemingly insurmountable odds, we should challenge ourselves to think, why not me? Instead of getting bogged down by statistics and probabilities. This mindset shift can be incredibly empowering, allowing us to focus on setting ourselves up for success rather than failure. He shares a fascinating technique where he separates his performer persona from his true self, allowing him to detach from rejection and criticism. This mental trick can be applied to our everyday lives, helping us to build resilience and confidence in the face of adversity. Oz also stresses the importance of action over inspiration. He encourages us to identify our goals and take immediate action, rather than getting stuck in a cycle of procrastination. Oz's approach to communication and active listening is truly insightful. He emphasizes the power of making others the star, thinking about what's going on in their minds, and delivering on their needs. His 5 ways to become a better active listener, which include asking none or no questions and letting the audience guide the conversation, are invaluable takeaways for anyone looking to improve their communication skills. Like, have you ever found yourself in an uncomfortable social setting, feeling like you want to shut down or escape? Well, our guest has a brilliant strategy for breaking the ice. He calls it having an inner monologue out loud. Essentially, he shares his own vulnerabilities and thoughts, making himself more relatable and human. Now let's talk about the art of remembering people's names. We've all been there. We meet someone, they tell us their name, and then, it's gone. Our guest has a clever trick to combat this, which he calls listen, repeat, reply. It's incredibly simple. First, you actually listen to the person's name, which is often the part we get wrong. Then, you repeat it back to them to ensure you've got it right, and you reply with a comment or question that associates with their name. This technique can be a total game changer in social situations. Another key takeaway is the importance of focus in shaping other people's perceptions. Our guest shared a fascinating story about how, as a magician, he would manipulate people's focus to create a specific memory of an event. The lesson here is that our attention can either enhance or detract from the experience of those around us. Even something as simple as glancing at our phone during a conversation can distract the other person and alter their memory of the interaction. When it comes to achieving success, our guest emphasizes the value of obsession not in a negative sense, but as a driving passion that fuels your pursuits. He believes that having a genuine passion for something can make all the difference in reaching the top of your industry. However, he also cautions that success can have its pitfalls, particularly if you tie your self-worth to external validation. To avoid this, it's essential to define your self-worth internally, focusing on your own drive and goal. Our guest leaves us with a challenge to define a goal for ourselves and strive for it, even when it gets tough. This is where I'm actually growing. So, what's one thing you want to strive for? Take a moment to define it, and then go for it. So, let's dive into what really stood out to me from our conversation so far. The idea that our goals need to be quantifiable, achievable, and have a clear starting point really resonated with me. That's where the real challenge lies. For our guest, it was running something they didn't initially enjoy, but now find solace in, even using it as a means to enter a flow state and spark new ideas. The conversation also touched on the power of small incremental changes. The math is compelling. Being one better every day can compound to nearly 38 times better over a year. Conversely, being one worse can lead to a near total decline. It's a stark reminder that our habits can either work for us or against us, impacting everything from our stress levels to our relationships. But here's the thing, progress isn't always linear. There's this valley of disappointment where initial efforts don't yield immediate results, leading to frustration and often abandonment of our goals. It's a pattern we've all fallen into at some point. The key, however, is persistence and understanding that those early struggles are a crucial part of the journey. And then, there was this fascinating detour into the concept of immortality, sparked by a question about whether our guest would choose to live forever. It's a poignant reminder of the preciousness of our time and the importance of living in the present. What also struck me was the emphasis on the value of curiosity and open-mindedness. Our guest's work, particularly in making people curious and expansive in their thinking, is seen as a catalyst for progress. It's about recapturing that childlike wonder, where discovering something new is a joyful experience. For our guest, seeing that wonder through their children's eyes is a gift, a form of immortality in itself. Lastly, the conversation highlighted the beauty of experiencing magic in our lives, whether through performances or simple, everyday moments. It's about keeping our minds open, believing in the possibility of wonder, and not losing that sense of awe as adults. It's a powerful message, especially in a world where disconnection and the loss of magic can lead to significant mental and physiological issues.